วัสดีครับท่านผู้ชมผมพีชนะครับวันนี้กีตาร์ไทย International มีความยินดีเป็นอย่างยิ่งนะครับที่มีโอกาสพิเศษได้พาท่านผู้ชมทุกท่านไปคุยกับมือกีตาร์ระดับตำนานนะครับเพื่อไม่ให้เป็นการเสียเวลาเชิญพบกับคุณ Lee Ritenour ครับ Hello Lee.
Hello.
Okay, welcome to Thailand.
Nice to be back.
Okay, I'm glad to have you here and spend time with us. Okay, first, as you travel a lot and a lot of like a show, today if you pick up a guitar, what do you practice?
Well, because I do travel a lot, it's important to have some exercises to warm up that you can constantly do. So I have a very simple warm-up exercise that I do to get the two hands talking to each other. So, just isometric, just 1, 3, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 1. But you don't have to do them fast. And then 1, 4, 3, 4. It's basically up and down picking. It's just to get the two hands in sync. And also, if you keep doing this, like if you do this for 10 minutes or something without stopping, just any kind of chromatic, it doesn't matter where you are on the neck. But if you keep doing this, eventually your hands will start to get tired here. And why I've been doing basically the same kind of exercise since I was 13. So why is that good? Because as soon as I pick up a guitar, I can do that, and I know immediately how loose I am or how stiff.
Okay. So it's like a standard of your standard.
So my own standard. Yeah. So it's like immediately I know just, oh wow, I'm really tired or I'm really stiff today, or like, not too bad, So, and then I always like to warm up before a show if I have time, after the sound check for like an hour and a half. So, and usually what I do, of course I do other things, arpeggios and just improvising and anything really.
Okay.
And then usually what I'm doing, I'm talking to people and hanging out while I'm playing.
Okay.
So I can be having people in the dressing room, I can be talking to the band, be telling jokes, whatever, but I'm constantly doing that.
Okay.
So we can do the interview and I'll just do that all day.
You can warm up. Yeah. Okay. And what is your philosophy of guitar playing at the moment?
Well, I think it goes beyond the guitar. Just trying to, I'm always trying to still fight to be better. I always feel like a student, so I think that's good. I think that's healthy, and music and the guitar is such a fascinating art and part of our lives, for everybody. Music is a part of everybody's life almost, and so it's important to, for me, just to communicate and keep trying to communicate through the guitar my music to the audience, and trying to find good melodies and good improvisation and good rhythm and good musicians to play with.
Okay, you mentioned about the rhythm. How do you practice all those like kind of rhythm, like funky?
How do I practice what?
Yeah, the rhythm.
Rhythm?
Yeah.
Well, rhythm is an art on the guitar that is very important. Most young guitar players don't pay enough attention to it.
Yeah.
The guitar is an accompaniment instrument. It's like if you're most of the time, if you're a professional guitar player, you're going to be backing up somebody. You're going to be backing up the singer. You're going to be in a band. It's important. Everybody wants to be the great lead guitar player, the shredder, the virtuoso jazz player, Guthrie Govan, or whoever, Hendrix or whoever. But it's important to, if you learn how to play really good rhythm guitar, and you're a really good accompaniment player, like you can back up somebody really well, chances are you're going to work more than the guy who can play the great solo, you know. And how do you learn rhythm guitar? It's not so easy, you know. I think it depends what kind of rhythm guitar you're talking about. If you're talking about folk and acoustic guitar playing, you know, there's a history of American and English, you know, guitar playing, and even more ethnic accompaniment styles from the traditional instruments in this country or Japan or China. But basically talking about contemporary guitar, you know, America and England have the best probably acoustic history, and that means going back to the folk music and learning all those patterns. Now, if you're talking about funky pop and R&B rhythm, it's best to go back to the Motown and the old school 60s and 70s so R&B and learn those things. And it's all about feel, and the feel is the most important thing. And you have to just live with the feel constantly. You just have to listen to all the records that feel great to you, and because sometimes it's the hardest thing to, you know, it's like, so a simple rhythm pattern like that, if a guitar player goes, doesn't sound very good, you know. You know, you've got to be able to get inside the feel. That means about time. You got to have good time. Most guitar players don't have good time. You have to learn about time, and playing a lot with a click helps.
Okay. And you also mentioned about the improvisation, right? When you do the improvisation, what is in your head?
Well, hopefully the best improvisation is nothing's in your head.
Okay. let it happen. Right?
Let it happen, and just I usually you know, are singing along while I play. Of course, I don't sing very well, so it's more like you know. But of course, you know, there's a long history of learning harmony and learning scales and learning different kinds of rhythms and why certain notes sound good against a chord, and you know, that takes a lifetime. But then when you're really improvising, it should be more from the heart and not from the head.
And you're talking about the scale. You know, everyone loves to play pentatonic scale, right? So what is your pentatonic idea? Do you have any, like, you know, your trick or your, you know, the way you approach the pentatonic?
Well, like you say, the most natural thing on the guitar is to play the pentatonic scale. It lays very well, you know. Unfortunately, since it is such a common thing of the guitar, it also sounds very common, you know. But within the pentatonic scale, you know, is so much detail of nuance of rhythm and dynamics, you know. Most young guitar players that haven't been playing too long, they have only two dynamics. The dynamic of being very loud and sometimes soft. But you know, within a phrase, you know, within one phrase, there can be so many dynamics, and same with a pentatonic, even that, you know. Sometimes when I'm playing jazz, you know, I'll use a pentatonic scale, but I'll for an A minor, I'll go up a half step and then go back, you know, to the A minor, or I'll go down. That's kind of a trick, but you know, if it's used effectively, it can work.
But you need to, like, know where you're going and how to come back, right?
Yes, exactly. You know, so like say if the band is playing A minor, and you're gonna do an A minor pentatonic scale, and then let's say you play an A flat minor pentatonic scale, you better end up on a note that is in the A minor chord. You know, so you don't want to go.
And on the wrong note.
you know,
So
whatever.
that's a dissonant.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
So there aren't, you know, it's the old famous saying, there are no wrong notes. It's just how you get there and how you get out of it.
Okay. So, and about how do you practice the chromatic approaching? That is all the half step outside is also one kind of like chromatic approaching, right?
Yeah, I use a technique where it's so it's always you're always going back one fret to catch the chromatic tone, and the only time you don't do that is from the second to third string, and then going down it's just the opposite. You're going up and back.
So that's the idea. Okay. And you also mentioned about the melody, right? On like playing music. So the melody is like one of your signature in your song. So how do you get like that, you know, like killer melody? Where it come from?
Well, that's a good question. I think writing songs is very important for everyone to do it. I think it's a very personal expression. Writing a good song is like any kind of writing. Let's say you're trying to write a book or a story or a screenplay or whatever, and you're trying to write. If you first start writing, maybe it's really bad.
Yeah.
And you throw it away, and then you write some more, and you're frustrated, and you throw it away, and you write some more, and you write some more, and you write some more. Eventually, the good stuff is going to come. When I'm writing for an album, it's a very painful process because many years ago when I was younger, sometimes I used to write on the road. Occasionally, I'll write a song. Something will come to me while I'm traveling on the road. But most of the time, when I'm preparing for a record, I'll spend a whole month of just writing, and sometimes more, sometimes 2 months if I have the time. And so the first 2 weeks is very painful. You know, it's like I write a song that I've either already written, or I write something that I don't like, or that's derivative, or something. But eventually it's like a muscle. You know, it's like an athlete. You keep running every day, you keep exercising and running, and eventually the next day you can run a little farther and a little farther and a little farther, and eventually you can get up to speed. It's the composing is the same way. So then, and sometimes to write a good song, sometimes for me it'll take a week. And sometimes it'll take 15 minutes, sometimes it'll take 5 minutes, sometimes it'll take 2 weeks to write one song. You never know how it's going to come. But when it does come quickly, and it all comes together very quickly, it's like, it's kind of like, wow, that's amazing. How did that happen?
Yeah.
And that's
So
I have no
that's a
idea.
kind of like most enjoyable moment.
Yeah, that's a really enjoyable
Okay.
moment. It's like, wow, this whole song appeared just like that, you know? So
Okay.
it doesn't happen very often.
Okay, so, and who is your idol? Who is your inspiration? Music inspiration?
Oh, wow. How long have you got? How many people you want me to list? You know?
So there's a lot, right?
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's impossible. But,
And so Wes Montgomery is one of your most
of
favorite.
course, you know, Wes was one of my first guitar idols, and you know, just I still have a lot of his style in me.
Yeah, so-
And but he was one of the first ones that first of all, he had this killer sound.
Yeah.
You know, so I think I got inspired from him to always try to record and have a great sound. You know, and because. Even if a guitar player plays really well, if he's got a lousy sound,
Yeah.
you know, I usually can't like his playing so much. And maybe he's killing, you know, maybe
Yeah.
he's playing great, but if he's got a really
Bad
bad
sound.
sound,
Yeah.
it's like, oh man.
So it end up like a noise.
Yeah. And
Okay.
and then, you know, there was, when I was growing up, there was all these great legends, and that's why I like so many different kinds of music, because there was Wes Montgomery, Kenny Burrell, Joe Pass, Barney Kessel, Jim Hall, Gabor Szabo, Howard Roberts, all these great jazz guitar players that I was listening to. But then the rock started, and there was, you know, Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck and Jimi Hendrix, and you know, and then on this classical side, there was Segovia, you know, the greatest classical guitar player in the history of the planet ever, you know, who really started so much foundation for every kind of guitar player. And Sabikis on the flamenco side, Chet Atkins on the country side, B.B. King and Albert King and John Lee Hooker on the blues side. So when I was a teenager, there was like a heavy, heavy legend in every field. So that's how every time I would hear like, wow, what's that? What is Chet Atkins playing? That's so cool. Or what is B.B. King doing? That's so cool. Or what is Hendrix doing? That's I can't even understand that. You know? so you know, I would listen to all these guys and take a little, take little pieces.
Okay, and okay, as Western music is come from Western, you know, and Thai guitarists can play Western music, but some of them is not sound right. So how do you have any advice for them how to like practice on like articulations or play it and make it sound right?
You're talking about Asian musicians or from here, Thailand?
Yeah, Thailand, Asians. But you know, like some of them can play well, but some of them play and it sound not right Western music.
Yeah, that's an interesting question because I've noticed it, you know, and whether it's in Japan or Thailand or Korea or China or Indonesia or Kuala Lumpur, all the Asian places, so there's some really, really good players, you know, but sometimes, again, the feel is not quite there, and it doesn't have the deepness that some of the rest of the world has, you know. And one thing that I notice is the time, the phrasing and the time, you know. I think it's very, you know, the guitar is not an easy instrument. To control the rhythm and the articulation, you know. You know, it's kind of easy for any guitar player.
Yeah, play fast.
You know, play fast or something, but ask him to play slower. And control the time better. Sometimes that doesn't happen so well. And also where they put the rhythm. They might actually have good rhythm, but it might be a little bit on top, or it's just kind of flat, you know. So I think more deep listening to the rhythm, and again playing with a click a lot. You know, I think Pat Metheny said an interesting thing. He gave a clinic one time that we were at the same festival doing clinics, and he had done a clinic right before me, and he had a metronome on the microphone on his iPad, and the metronome would click, 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 and he gave a 3-hour workshop, and the
metronome is always on
for 3 hours. Yeah. You heard about that?
Yeah, not yet, but interesting. Like
and it kind of drove all the class crazy. You know? But his point was, he said, it doesn't matter how many cool notes you know, how many cool chords you know, how fast you can play, how many songs you know. If you don't have good time, doesn't matter. Yeah. So.
Okay, so it's all about the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move about your gear. The guitar. What is your current gear you use?
Well, in the studio, I use all sorts of different gear. I use a lot of different boogies and Fenders and different guitars. It really depends. And sometimes I'm recording just one amp and then processing it through the computer. But live, I use 3 amps. I use 2 Fender twin 65 reissues, and in the middle I use usually a boogie with a 212 speaker with and a boogie Road King or rectifier, dual rectifier or triple rectifier. And basically I use a line 6 pedal board, but not for any of the amp tones, just for the effects. And then I use a German distortion pedal called Rodenberg, a very small little company in Germany, but fantastic sound, and it has a lot of presence. And then an optical compressor and a splitter that splits the sound to the 3 amps.
Okay.
So the 3 amps are always getting the tone, but the 2 Fenders are getting the line 6 effects like stereo chorus, stereo delay, stereo reverb, octave divider, whatever,
So it's like,
phaser.
Yeah, so it's like a wet, dry, wet setup.
Yeah, and then the
mid-amp.
boogie is completely dry. But all 3 amps are getting the tone, so we're miking all 3 amps.
Okay, and
But
then-
it's left, center, right.
And you mix it at the console.
Yeah, they if it's most of the theaters are stereo, so it's usually left, center, right.
Okay.
And my engineer knows if the hall is like a lot of echo and it's kind of bouncing around the sound,
Yeah.
he can bring up the center amp
Yeah.
for a little more presence. Or if it's a very dry room and
Yeah.
it's kind of dead, he can bring up the Fenders
Okay.
for a little more ambience. But most of the time it's just straight.
Okay. Okay. And you also use a lot of the Yamaha silent guitar.
Yes.
Can you talk more about it?
Yeah, well, when it came out a few years ago, I tried it at NAMM. Somebody just said, "Hey, check this out." Plugged it in, and I was really surprised how comfortable. Whoops!
Sorry.
How comfortable it is. It looks funny, right? But it's ergonomically,
Yeah.
it's so well balanced. And the nice thing about it, it's not too expensive. It's I don't
Affordable.
know. It's pretty affordable. So I always recommend it to parents also to get this guitar for their kids when they're getting a little more serious. Maybe not the first guitar, but
Okay.
but when they're getting more serious about the guitar. And of course it has headphones and little
Yeah.
reverb and effects you can plug into, but. And on my Rodenberg, I use a clean booster on this guitar as well, and I use a little more compression to give the guitar a more presence live. But it sounds real good. Yeah, I like it, and it's fun. Everybody, and
Yeah.
of course it comes apart. So that's cool too. So the air, it's already broken, so the airplanes can't break it more.
Oh, yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah. So yeah. It's a really clever design, and I think they, in maybe about a year from now, they have a new model coming out that's is amazing.
Okay, so any words for your Thai fan?
Well, I always love to come to Thailand. I don't come often enough, and I love the people here and the spirit, and everybody's so nice, and people love music here, and I love to play for the fans here, and the musicians are getting better every year, the Thai musicians, so that's good, and love the food and the pretty ladies.
Okay, so last one. What is the most important thing that guitarists should pay attention to, but they are not? They have forgot.
I think again, learning to be a great accompaniment player, a great rhythm player, and learning to be a great rhythm player helps that thing that we were talking about. The other thing about time, and again the feel. When I grew up, I got to be a studio musician in Los Angeles at a very young age. And people didn't even know that I played that much lead guitar. I got in as a rhythm player. I was playing rhythm on all the dates a lot, and that's how and that's how I got well known at first. So being a good rhythm and learning all the different kinds of rhythm playing, and rock and roll rhythm playing. That's another great art. All the classic guitar parts from from Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones, and all those pop hits. Learning how to cop all those kind of parts, and it just makes you a better guitar player.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and hope you come back again.
Of course. Yeah.
ครับผมก็ต้องขอบคุณบริษัทสยามดนตรียามาฮ่าด้วยครับสำหรับโอกาสดีๆเช่นนี้นะครับแล้วก็เดี๋ยวรอดูกันต่อนะครับว่ากีตาร์ไทยอินทิวิเทอร์เทปหน้าจะพาท่านผู้ชมไปคุยกับใครนะครับวันนี้ผมพีทลาไปก่อนนะครับสวัสดีครับ